Welcome to Disruptor Digest, the top disruption business show. We dig up the secret playbooks used by first movers, featuring the latest tools, technologies, and science, ensuring you won't fall behind or succumb to FOMO, to singularity and beyond.
In today's episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Mihály Kertész, a renowned marketing expert who has lent his expertise to clients in 18 different industries. With his vast experience in email marketing, including sending over 1.6 million emails, Dr. Kertész is here to share his knowledge with beginners looking to set up a successful cold email campaign. Together, we'll explore everything from understanding what a cold email is to creating an effective automated campaign. Dr. Kertész believes that cold email is an excellent tool for reaching out to dream clients, scaling inbound marketing, and standing out from the crowd of low-quality email spammers. In this conversation, we'll discuss the importance of email outreach for various purposes, such as marketing, podcasting, job searching, and sales. We'll delve into the risks and benefits of using templates, the significance of research, and the best strategies to stand out in email copywriting as we navigate the complex world of cold email marketing. We'll cover a wide range of topics, including targeting capabilities, optimizing email deliverability, and how to craft engaging emails using GPT. We'll also discuss the importance of personalization, exploring various copywriting frameworks, and strategies to maximize your email outreach potential. So buckle up and join us on this journey to mastering cold email marketing with Dr. Mihály Kertész. By the end of this podcast, you'll have a comprehensive understanding of cold email marketing and how to make it work for you and your business. Don't miss out on this opportunity to learn from an expert in the field. For all the insider info, including show notes and transcript, check out disruptordigest.com. Dear listeners, this is Viktor Tabori, and today I'm talking to Dr. Mihály Kertész, who is graduated from veterinary school and dropped out from his PhD to run a marketing agency with me. His work has been recognized by numerous awards like the Silver Effie and Golden Effie Award, which is the Oscar of marketing effectiveness. He has helped clients in 18 different industries to optimize marketing strategies with the scientific method. He learned advertising strategy in New York City, which is basically the epicenter of marketing world. And his expertise in marketing, email marketing especially, is unparalleled because he sent more than 1.6 million emails in the last 4 years alone. And I remember working with him and being awestruck by his expertise because there were some variations and emails which went through 10 to 12 iterations to make sure that they are perfect. And the end result was through the roof, basically.
Thank you very much, Victor, and welcome everyone who is listening. So the goal of this podcast would be, at the end, you will be able to decide if cold outreach email is good for you, and also you will be able to set up a basic cold email campaign. But also there are some things and parts that needs deeper understanding, so you will know where to dig, and you will know what parts you should learn more about to create a very successful cold email campaign.
So all in all, it's for beginners who don't even know maybe what cold email outreach emails are, right?
Yeah, I would say it's this podcast is aimed for beginners and people who tried cold email marketing and didn't have any success. And also, I think there are some uh, hacks and tricks and tips that even somebody who has been running cold email campaigns for a while can learn something. And also, both you and I come from the field of marketing, and I think cold email is very similar to other marketing channels. And we have more than 12 years of experience in marketing. So I think even if somebody has been running cold email campaigns, there will be some interesting things that they can learn about.
And in short, what could be the positive outcome which one can expect if they start to follow what you are going to share with us?
Okay, so cold email marketing, I think it's an interesting tool, and it's a very interesting tool in 2023 when some of the display channels are oversaturated, very expensive, and people hate them. And also, it's very easy to stand out from the crowd of low quality email spammers and build something great and write a good cold emails and create a good email campaign. So what can you reach with a cold email campaign? So first, you can book appointments with your dream clients. You can scale your inbound marketing flow, totally automated. If you are in podcasting, you can get interviewed with high profile podcasts. Also, you can invite people to your podcast. Also, if you're looking for a new job, you can land your dream job. And most importantly, if you are an intern or you are looking for an intern position, it's good for from intern to senior position as well. And also, there are some jobs which are not advertised, and you can tap into that market as well. Also, a lot of people using cold email marketing for link building, and I think that is still a scalable and free option for this. But the caveat is that the templates are getting burned, which is true for sales, which is true for getting interviews and for job search as well. So in this podcast, we will not focus on templates, and we will not give you any template because it's a risky situation that spam filters will recognize the template that other people's use, and also we would like to help you to understand the strategy behind the cold email. And also, if you are a
Sure.
startup, one last
Okay.
thing. If you are a startup or if you are developing a new offer, cold email is very good for a targeted research. So you can get very fast feedback for a new product, for a new offer, from a very targeted set of companies, not just from anybody, not just your friends or neighbors or anybody, but your actual target audience.
You mentioned that the templates are burned and they're getting burned. What does it mean? And also, for me, who is not that knowledgeable in the cold outreach email niche, I would be extremely interested in templates. So if there are no templates, then what can I use to get results quickly?
There are two things that you can do. If you're interested in templates, you will find a lot of templates. But if you look for templates, please don't just read one, read at least 10 or 20 or 30, because after 20 or 30 templates, you will understand the strategy and you will know what is the structure that we are looking for. We will not talking about templates, we will talk about the structure. And also why people are looking for templates. First, because they don't know how to start, they don't know what should be included. But we will talk about this, and we will talk about the actual copywriting and how can you get help from a GPT to with copywriting. So the thing that you and maybe other people are looking for templates is something that we will cover without an actual template. And
Oh,
okay,
that's
you
awesome.
are also mentioned what is burning. What is burning? What does it mean that the template is burned? So, for example, if some high-profile blog or news media or marketing guru is publishing their templates, then people will use it and just change a few things. Maybe they don't even personalize. And how spam filters works that they try to find similar things what spammers do. For example, who is the sender, what is the IP, and also what is the template, what is the structure, what is the length, and what are the exact words that spammers use. And on spammer, I mean people who doesn't give you value. They want to take a value. Maybe they are even scammers, so they want to take your money without giving anything in return. And you don't want to be that person, and you don't want to do anything similar to these people.
All right, clear. Thanks.
Also, I mentioned that it's very easy to stand out from the crowd, and there is a reason. Because if somebody can write great cold emails, they don't have to write a lot. Maybe they have to send 1,000 emails a month or so, and they will get a lot of clients, and their bottleneck won't be to send out more emails, but the bottleneck will be the actual scalability of their company and the backend workflows and delivering the value. So I very, very rarely get a good cold email, maybe once or twice a year. But I get a lot of spams which I end up in spam folder, promotion folder. And it's very easy to stand out if you follow what we will talk about.
Sounds great. So let's get into the depth of this.
Okay, before you start a cold email campaign, the first thing that you need to think about is cold email the best and quickest channel for you? Okay, so think about the buying pyramid. The buying pyramid is a pyramid when the bottom level consists of people who have the problem, but they are not aware of it. The next level is people who are aware of the problem, but haven't started researching solutions. Above them, the people who are actively looking for a solution to their problem. And on the top of the pyramid, any if you're thinking about any target audience, maybe the 1 to 3% of people, these are the people who are actively seeking offers, comparing solutions, and ready to make a purchase soon. So if you have a new offer or new product, I would suggest to start with the bottom of the pyramid, because these people has a very high conversion rate. It means out of 100 people, maybe 10 or even 30 people would buy from you if they know that you have an offer and then you have a product. On traditional advertising channels, reaching these people are usually more expensive, but still, if they are more expensive with a higher conversion rate, it's still uh, cheaper to get new clients from this top of the funnel part. So if I would have a new offer, I would start with search ads, because these are the people, because these people are actively looking for solution. Actively means they are looking, they are searching, they are using Bing, they are using Google, they are using other search engines, and it's easy to reach them. The problem with this is, first, it's expensive, and second, there is a limited demand. So, for example, maybe there is a local market and there is no more than 10 or 20 searches for your product, or what the searches that are relevant to your product. But still, I would start there because these people have the highest conversion rate.
So this
And
is why
after,
like plumbing in a certain city has like the highest cost in the search ads, because if someone needs a plumber, he needs most probably like right now. So plumbers are more than willing to spend a lot. So the competition is quite
yes,
great, and it costs a fortune basically to get a lead.
yes, exactly. And also, what you said, urgency is a leverage on this. So even if it's so urgent, but also think about, plumbers cannot do cold outreach email to hey, is there anything to fix in your house? No, of course not. There is not a moment when there is something to fix, but I'm not looking for a solution, because if somebody is leaking hard, then I will search. So yes, there are several fields that you cannot that Google search is the only viable advertising channel. But after that, most of the fields, most of the industries, and most of the offers can go one step deeper and looking and focus on the people who has been starting looking for solution, or maybe who just problem aware. They know they have a problem, but they haven't started for solution. And this is where most of the display channels come into play: Facebook, Google Display Network, Instagram, TikTok, even. And also, this is the phase when cold email marketing is the most viable. Also, cold email marketing is best when you are looking for B2B, when you are selling to businesses. And when you are selling to businesses, the two best channels are LinkedIn and cold email marketing, because you have superb targeting capabilities. So we will focus on cold email and how can you target. So in a case of okay, my wife has a cooking school, so I would tell you an exact example. So in a case of a cooking school which provides team building cooking events for companies, Google Search Ad would be the primary choice, because people who want to organize a team building event for their company usually start in Google. But the problem with searches is there is fierce competition, demand is limited, and you can only reach people who are actively looking for solutions to their problem, or at least wants to understand their problem. So here comes the cold outreach email, and you can know what are the targeting here. What would be the targeting here for a cooking? First, it's very local business. People wouldn't travel more than 1 hour for a cooking school, so you can have a geo targeting, and also you will know your kitchen size. For example, in our cooking school, there are no more than 25 people that we can host in at one time. So we will know that we only target companies between the employees of 5 and 25. So these are the superb targeting capabilities. And after targeting,
And
if
sorry,
you
can you use this targeting in Google Ads and Facebook Ads, like or where do you set like the size of the company or these kind of things?
in Google Ads and other display channels, usually not. But if you are looking for companies, most of the European Union companies have public email addresses. and you can look for this. Also, there are several company
Oh,
databases in the US, when you can filter for industry, filter for number of employees, even filter for
oh.
revenue.
Can you
So
mention like a can you mention a tool maybe which you are familiar with?
in Europe, one of the biggest company databases is called Dun and Bradstreet, but for every country, you can find different one usually, and you can dig deep.
Yeah, so it's gonna be in the show notes then, I guess. So if the listeners are interested in, we're gonna put it in the show notes, so no worries about that. So basically, to summarize, the strategy here is to make a list of potential companies using a company database, no matter it's public or private. You filter it, and then you use some kind of cold outreach, either way, email or cold calling them, right?
Yes, correct. And also, just a short legal disclaimer. Although we are not, it's not a legal advice. This podcast is for education purposes. But in most of the world, sending emails to companies is legal. Although there are some requirements, but both in the US and the EU is totally legal. But sending emails to persons, to private email addresses, is usually not legal, but you need to make your research about that. But this is why cold, cold email outreach is for B2B mostly.
Yes.
Okay, so after you have a target audience, you will need to decide how many emails, how long the list should be. And first, I would focus on 1,000, about 1,000. I tell you why 1,000, because if your cold email campaign is successful, then you can expect about 10 to 15 positive reply rate. And it means out of 1,000 email addresses, you can reach about 100 to 150 leads. And
Oh wow.
depending on
So,
your
so, so
offer,
it's saying like if you outreach the conversion rate to get answers around 10%, it seems quite high because in e-commerce settings, if visitors are coming to a web shop, the average conversion rate is 2%. So 2% is buying. So in email case, like so my guess would have been much lower. So I would have guessed like maybe I don't know a fraction of a percent who is answering your email because it's like almost like shouting into the void.
yeah, although first think about that is reply rate, and these are leads. What you are talking about in e-commerce, they are buyers usually,
Okay.
so there is a purchase. So after you have a 10 to 15% reply rate, in my experience, you can reach about it. It's based on the price of your product or service, but you can reach about 20% conversion rate. So out of 1,000 people, you can get very similar 20 to 30, which is 2 to 3% final conversion rate to getting a client.
So I just want to tell the listeners that who is not familiar with this field that getting 10 to 12% reply rate is quite insane because if you maybe you have some benchmarks for like a shitty outreach email, what is the percentage versus a really good one? Because I personally saw your magic when you quadrupled like reply rates, or it's really like 10x the reply rate. So I just maybe you can give some number to the listeners.
Okay, so first, to have this high reply rate, you have to get a high deliverability rate, and
Okay.
at least 70%, and aiming for 80%. And it's not just one email, but the whole sequence. We will talk about follow up soon, but I would suggest to send at least 4 to 5 emails to one email address before you abandon it. So in this 4 to 5 email sequence, you should reach 70 to 80% open rate, which means at least one email is opened by 70 or 80% of people. And from that, it's you ask a really small thing, just with your first emails, just to get a short answer of yes, that they are interested in your offer, or the next step, or send me more information. And this is the positive reply rate, somebody sending yes, I'm interested, tell me more. So this is what we can reach 10 to 15% reply rate. And also there is the difference between reply rate and positive reply rate. The difference is positive reply is somebody's interested, and some people will say that we are thank you, we are not interested. So a lot of people are very polite and they don't just unsubscribe, but ask you politely to please don't bother us again. Or yes, we are not interested at this point, but in the future we will be interested maybe. Also, it's an objection, and they wouldn't be interested in the future. But reply rate, even if there are a lot of negative replies are coming in, it's good because spam. This is a very very important, maybe the most important signal for spam filters that you are not a spammer because people are replying to you. Because think about this. Uh, uh, these fake princes who inherited a huge amount of money and send out scam emails that can you uh, help me to escrow my huge amount of money. They won't get a huge reply rate, maybe one reply for every 100,000 emails or so. But having a 10 to 15% reply rate is something that spam filters will like and deliver your email more.
Oh, great. So it's just like to summarize what I understand is basically to get a good reply rate is not just like one metric. So you have to get a lot of things done. So first, it's like you have to make sure that everyone actually gets the email. So deliverability of the email matters a lot. So maybe pre-testing the email address you collected, whether they can be used as a valid email, right? So that's an important step. And then it's not just like sending one email, you send several emails, and you also use, as far as I know, the word for this foot in the door technique in sales, where you try to get a short yes for extremely smart things. So it's, instead of like sending an essay, long essays, you just send an extremely quick and easy to say yes to email, and then you follow up. So this is like the whole sequence you have to make right in order to get a higher reply rate, right?
Correct. So first, deliverability, second, foot in the door, and there is one third thing, which is I think also very very important: personalization. And you can reach personalization two ways. First, you know who are you sending to, and that's why I tell you to start with 1,000 companies only, because it can be very targeted. That you will know that these companies have the problem that you are offering a solution with a high probability, and also know that, and also you can be able to talk in their language, use their first names. So this is a personalization part.
Great. And do you have like tools to recommend for the deliverability checking and
Sure.
for the
Okay,
rest
let's
of
go
the
into let's go
flow as
into
well?
Victor, we talked about this, and I know that you like the technical stuff about what can you use for cold emails. So
Yes.
let's get to it. So first, when you have an email list, even if you paid a lot for an email list, there is a high probability that there are some emails which are not working anymore. Maybe the employee whose email you received from a database is not working in that company, or they changed their domain address, or maybe their inbox is just full temporary, but it's still a bounce. And bounce is a very, very bad thing because it's a bad signal for spam filters. So you don't want to get too much bounces. I would say try to keep between lower than 1%. Earlier, with one of our companies, we sent out an email before we know this, and we reached 20% bounce rate, which is like very, very bad. And we immediately got a call from our email provider that, guys, there is something wrong and you shouldn't do it anymore. So we learned this the hard way, but you don't have to. So, how can you make sure that your bounce rate is low? Check the validity of your emails. We will put it in the show notes, but my favorite service called Maya, and for $1 you can verify 5,000 email addresses.
Oh, wow.
And in my experience with their verification, you can reach well below 1% or around 1%. Also, if you before you verify these email addresses, you should and when you have only 1,000 emails, you can do it manually. If you most importantly, when you do it first, it's your first email campaign, that you can read all these emails, because it's like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to read all of them, and you can you will find a few examples like johndoe.gmail.com and example.gmail.com that may uh, get authenticated and verified with the tools, but of course it's not for a real person's email address. So you want to eliminate this, and also, for example, Gmail with double L and some typos, but usually verification apps for validity and verification like MyAdder will filter out these emails.
So there's basically different levels of services. So because if you use a service which is checking for validity, they may be wrong, right? So they may not work that good. So, and you have this specific service, you have experience that if they say something is right and you filter out all the not right email addresses, then you can reach maybe above 99% of the emails which you got back. So it's a huge win, because what happens in the background, if I understand correctly, then if you send out a lot of emails which bounce back, obviously the technological providers, they see it and they just instantly flag you as a spammer. And they maybe like blacklist your domain, blacklist your IP address where you're sending it from. And then you, even though if you're sending out valid emails, it won't get delivered to the inbox, right?
Yes, correct. And here comes the backlist and IPs. So where do you want to send your email addresses from? First, you don't want to send your main domain. So for example, you don't want to send your name at tesla.com if you are from Tesla, but you want to make a separate domain, for example, your name at gettesla.com, or you want to make, you should put a hyphen in the name or something different to make a little bit different domain name. And why is it good? Because if you send out cold emails, there is always a risk. Why is it good? Because if you're sending out cold emails, there is always a risk to get blacklisted, and it's very hard or maybe impossible to get out from a blacklist. So you don't want to play with your main domain.
Is it like getting a burner phone, a sort of like a burner domain name for sending out emails, even though you are not doing anything wrong? So you just get a separate domain for sending out emails, just for the reason if something goes south, you can set up a new domain, right?
Yeah, it's similar, but the good thing is it's hard to spam from these burner emails because you have to warm them up, which
Okay.
means you work on them to look like the, which means you should behave like it would be a normal email
Sure.
address. How can you burn up an email? How can you warm up an email address? If you are planning to send a low volume of cold emails, and a low volume, I mean less than 1,000 emails per month, so it's like 20 or 30 per day. I think it's a low volume, but for some companies, it's more than enough to get enough clients. So in this case, it's good enough to manually warm up your email inbox. It means write a few emails to your friends, to your coworkers, to your clients, anybody you can, and ask them to reply, like 10 or
Smart.
20 people. The next thing you can do is subscribe to newsletters. The more frequent, the better. For example, daily newsletters, again, just a few dozen, and you will receive a lot of emails, and maybe you can even answer them, and it will signal a behavior for email providers like Gmail or Outlook that it's a working real email.
So sorry, so if you subscribe to newsletters and you get a lot of emails, like valid looking and normally delivered emails, it's also a positive signal for email providers that you are not a spammer.
Yes, because think about, why would spammers sign up for a newsletter?
Oh,
It's not a
maybe we just burn this opportunity now because we talking about sharing secrets here, and maybe it's not gonna work next month, but this is really smart. I like it.
Okay, the next thing is, if you are thinking about higher volumes, then you should think about warm up softwares, warm up applications. And the landscape is changing on this, but usually the workflow is that you join a pool of other cold email senders, and an automatic system will send emails between each other and reply with some automatically generated text. In the past 2 years, in my experience, it worked very well. You were able to warm up an email address in 2 or 3 weeks, and also with this method, usually you can track the deliverability of these warm-up emails, and you will see that in the beginning it goes from red, which means a lot of email in the spam, in 2-3 weeks go to totally green, which means every email lands in the inbox.
Yeah, I remember you recommended this as almost like one of the first things that, okay, after I get a clean list, I should make like this warm-up thing, because the first emails sent out get like maximum 60% deliverability rate because of not being warmed up, and they were flagged like a spam. And as it progressed, after a few weeks, it was almost 100%. So it had a huge impact. So just think about that. Maybe if you have a budget for to spend on a client and acquire a new lead, and your budget is $20 per lead, think about that. If you double the deliverability rate, it's like almost like you can spend 40, right? So it's like you can outspend the competition, and it's an insane advantage to optimize the first few steps, which is maybe the last steps people think about. That for me, it was certainly the last step I was thinking about to optimize, but it had a huge impact.
Yeah, correct. And you mentioned 60% deliverability rate. I think it's good when you're starting. And also, not just one email, but in the whole sequence, I mentioned 70 to 80% deliverability rate as a goal. But also, the spamming filter line is very thin here. If you are below 60%, there is a high probability that it will go even further down, 55%. And after that, it will be very easy that you will get flagged and blacklisted. So if your deliverability rate is below 60%, that you need to change things very urgently.
Also, there is like a cutoff point at 60% where things go south much faster, right?
Yes.
So there's an inflection point, negative inflection point, which you want to avoid. Okay, that's a good thing to know.
It is. So the last thing that in the warm-up thing that I want to mention, there is a so-called authentication, which means you set up things in your DNS record, in your domain name, the so-called DKIM and SPF records. I think nobody has to understand them deeply, but they are some kind of authentication which will make scammers harder to send emails from your email address. And this is also a good sign because it's a good practice. It's a good sign for spam filters. If you set them up correctly, and you can easily Google them, and all the email providers like Google Workspace and Outlook provide this authentication information, then you can set up one time and good to go.
Yes, and I'm using Beehive for sending emails and managing emails, which is a paid newsletter service. So you can operate a newsletter easily, almost like Substack, but with more functionality, more marketing tools and stuff like that. And for them, it was quite easy. So it was quite straightforward in the setup process, how you should do that. And in the background, what it does, it's limiting, because in the email technology, you basically can, it's almost like delivering a physical letter. You can sign who is it coming from, and you can fake it easily, right? Because you just like fake the name, and it's like it's coming from somewhere else than you. And it's the same for emails. And with what SPF and DKIM is doing is it's encrypting, and it's saying which IP addresses and which providers can send emails in your name, so others cannot abuse it. So because if you don't set it, what can happen is someone notices it and starts to spam with your domain name, and you don't want to have that, because then you're going to get flagged, and then you burn your domain, and then you have to set up a new one. So it's quite inconvenient.
Yes, correct. You are again, you have more knowledge on the technical stuff here, which I not usually go into. I just understand that you have to set them up correctly. That's all. And also, you mentioned Beehive, one of the uh, systems or applications where you can send email from. And the next question is, where should you send email from? Is email marketing automation softwares like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, CRM systems are good for sending out cold emails? And the definitive answer is no. There is a distinct difference between email marketing softwares and cold email softwares. What cold email applications do is you connect it with your inbox, which can be a Gmail, Google Workspace, Outlook, and they send it from your account, from your inbox account. What email marketing software do is they are send the emails from a IP address, which is used by several other advertisers and other companies. So they have some servers. They have, for example, in case of Mailchimp, they have a server, mostly in the US. For example, in Atlanta, they have an IP address there, and they send a lot of emails, like millions or maybe tens of millions of emails every day from that email IP address.
Okay.
And spam filters know that that email IP address is connected to an email marketing software. So the deliverability rate can suffer because they know it's a marketing app. And also, if other people who are using the same IP address are spamming, that they can get blacklisted. And again, deliverability rate will be go lower.
But you can buy like bigger packages and then they provide a dedicated IP address for it. But it's quite pricey, as I remember. So you almost have to
Yes.
be enterprise level to be able to afford it.
Yes, you can do that, and also use other uh, softwares like SendGrid if you are thinking about millions of emails. But I think it's a different game that we are talking about. And also, there is one other very important difference between email marketing softwares and cold email softwares. Email marketing softwares are sending emails in batches. So, for example, if you make an automation to send out emails, they send out all the emails in 1 or 2 minutes, like 10,
Oh,
1,000, 2,000, or 10,000 emails. But what you can do with cold email applications, and it's very, very hard to do with marketing email applications, that the cold email application sending the emails one by one, and they wait a few minutes, 5 minutes by default or something like that, and you can change the time difference between two emails, so it can have a random effect. So 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 2 minutes again. So it's randomized. So again, it's some you can stay below the radar and not get caught by spam filters to send out a lot of emails.
almost like automating what you would do by hand, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And
makes sense.
if you are sending emails in a specific geolocation, so in a country or in a state, it's wise to set up in working hours. So, for example, for our cooking class, we send out emails only between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. So this is a small window, and every
Oh,
workday, and also in business to business, no emails on the weekends, because it's again against the common things that how people in businesses uses the limit. And if you are doing something different, that it's a signal for spam filters that you are doing something bad here. So only work days and only working times.
it feels to me like going to a Formula One racetrack with a street car versus a Formula One car, right? So Formula One car is like specifically for that track, specifically to be able to extremely fast, whereas your car is just like a normal email software like Mailchimp is like yeah, it's an everyday car, right? But it's not optimized for a specific task, and that's kind of like mind blowing for me as you say it now, because it makes a lot of sense. But I wouldn't think about that to actually use a cold email outreach software instead of using a general one. And these little tricks to try to automate what you would do by hand, and don't be stupid about that, basically.
Yeah, just develop your metaphor a little bit further. I think it's a rally car versus a Formula One car, because marketing email softwares can be really, really good and a lot of functionality. But if you go on a rally track with a Formula One car, that it will just break easily. And the
Yeah,
same is true that with a rally car, even if it's very high performance, you have no chance on a Formula One track.
yeah.
Okay, so after you set up everything, you set up your inbox, you warm it up, you set up authentication, and you are using the cold email applications. The next thing is, before you send out an email, is you should check if everything is correct. And fortunately, there are some very great tools for this. I would mention two. The first one is called mailtester.com. We will put it in the show notes. With Mailtester, you can check if you set up authentication correctly. Also, you can check if there are any harmful parts in your email. What can be harmful parts? For example, iframes, JavaScripts,
Mm.
embedded codes, which you
Mm.
want to really avoid. So for cold emails, I would recommend to go only with plain text. No HTML, no GS, no CSS, nothing, just plain text. Because this is how your friend would send you an email. Your friend wouldn't design a great marketing shabloon with Canva or Photoshop to send you an email about your next event or adventure. It would be a plain text. So your email should look like as somebody received it from a friend. The next one that mailtester.com can check, link shorteners. Don't use link shorteners
Oh,
because again, this is a sign of spammers, and spam filters are very aggressive on them. And also you
but
can
it's
check if
kind of like, sorry, it's kind of like reminds me what happens when people who is not familiar with marketing try to write marketing copy, right? So it's like advertisement copy or emails or landing page copy or something like that. So they somehow start to overcomplicate things. They try to sound smart. It's kind of backfires. So it's the same thing with emails as far as I understand that if you start to use all the smart things which are smart in a normal email marketing setting, like opening rate tracking or click rate tracking and those kind of things, if you start to use them, it's actually backfiring to you if you try to use cold outreach, because cold outreach is easier and better working when simpler. So just sit down, write it as a email to a specific friend. So just sending, for example, to you. I write an email and I'm actually sending it to you after it. So you can reply back and you can see, and you can pinpoint weaknesses and so on and so on. Versus people overcomplicate. They start to use all the very elite and very flashy technologies, and it's backfiring, right?
Yeah, don't be flashy. Don't think about it too much. Just use it plain. And okay, the last thing, and we will go to tracking in a minute because it's a bigger topic. But why would people use link shorteners? So I will get back to it. And so the last thing it's worth to mention about mailtester.com that they check that if your IP address is blacklisted.
Mm.
Uh, so you can check all the basic things if somebody is not wrong, and if something is wrong, it's easy to fix before you send out, before you start to send out.
You
There's a,
mentioned quite a lot of tools, and the process is quite not that straightforward, but still easy because you have to check deliverability, then you have to check the email itself, and then you can send it out, right? And first, yeah, obviously you have to collect the email addresses, but just to give to the listeners a ballpark. So if you said that you have to have like 1,000 email addresses, right? The starting point, which makes sense. How much does it cost to get 1,000 emails? Let's say it's for free, but then check the email addresses and then check the email itself with the mail checker you mentioned. So just sending emails out to 1,000 valid addresses and make sure that you maximize your chance to success. Just to give a ballpark, how much does it cost?
Okay, I haven't mentioned what are the in company databases. It's about $200 for 5,000 emails or something like that.
Uh-huh.
There are some global databases like Hunter.io and Apollon.io, and I just checked that it's $100 for 5,000 emails.
Mm.
Also, you can scrape emails. There are some tools like Octoparse and Scrapebox. Again, everything in the show notes where you can set up without any coding knowledge to scrape websites for their email addresses. And also, just quickly mention here, scraping websites are 100% legal. There was a famous case where LinkedIn wanted to stop other companies to scrape their website, and the U.S. court uh, had made a decision in 2019 that scraping publicly available data is totally legal. So you can scrape email addresses. But if you don't want to learn about this, you can find people on Upwork or Fiverr where for a few $100s they can scrape you any amount of email addresses from websites. And last source that I would like to mention to get email addresses is called BuiltWith, which is a company that focusing on what kind of technology do websites use. For example, do they use WordPress or some tracking software like Hotjar or Datadog or other one? And you can create a list based on industry and the actual technology that people are using on their website. So for example, if you want to sell WordPress plugins, you can get an email addresses of several websites who are using WordPress.
Yeah, this just reminds me of a friend of mine who is doing now cold outreach by using basically this tool, this BuildWith, because they are doing development outsourcing. So they are a developer shop. They are doing hardware and software, and they outreach to companies and see whether they have something they can outsource. And they use BuildWith, and then they use GPT to write extremely personalized and emails, and also give ideas to the company about specifically what would fit them.
Just to summarize the cost, to acquire a list would take a few $100 to 1,000 to 5,000 emails maximum. And for this cold email software, it's about $50 to $100 per month. And also, you should need a Google Workspace, a professional email provider, and a domain name, which is the domain name is $10 per year about, and the email provider is about $5 per month. So I think this is the overall cost for setting up the technology.
Oh, it makes sense. So it's basically not that expensive if you think in terms of getting quality leads. So if you spend this a few $100s on acquiring 5,000 quality email addresses, and you clean them and you make sure that everything is right, and then you can expect around 10% lead or 10% reply rate, which is quite good. So at the end of the day, it can be quite competitive, I guess.
Yes, you are right, but I would emphasize again, this is the technical part. The more
Okay.
the costly part, the expensive part is creating good campaigns and working great emails. And in my experience, if somebody haven't made any cold email campaigns, it would take them at least 3 weeks, maybe 2 months, to really understand the nitty-gritty part and reach that level of 10 to 15% open rate, which is still, I think, not that expensive. But
Reply
also,
rate, you mean?
reply
Yeah.
rate. But if you don't want to go on that route, you can outsource it. There are several cold email marketing agencies, and there is a good thing that they can create your first campaign. You will learn a lot from them. What are the sources of their database? What database do they use, and how do they filter, and how do they set up their campaign? And after that, even a junior marketer can manage the scaling, or at least the continuation of that campaign. So you
So
can do it in.
to pay for an agency to do this work for you.
I think it depends a lot because some agencies work by the hour, some agencies work by lead. I'm not familiar with the current rates, but if you put it in Google, you will get offers very quickly. Okay, one application that I want to mention to check if everything is okay with your email campaign before you send out the emails, and it's called Glocapps, and it's very brilliant what they do. So they give you 70 email addresses and ask you to send a campaign to these 70 email addresses. And these are emails from all the main email providers: Outlook, Hotmail, Gmail, Google Workspace, different emails, and other ones. And they check if your if your email is delivering into the inbox or in the spam folder, and also if the IP or your domain name is blacklisted. And out of these 70 email addresses, you will know that, for example, if you are blacklisted in Outlook, maybe you don't start with Outlook email addresses. You can start with Gmail, or if you are not get delivered to email inbox, most of them, then you need to change something.
Oh, that's good to know, because I guess most of the, at least I would do like just check and okay, I just see okay, Hotmail is not delivering, and I would send it anyway. But that's a good heads up to actually try to avoid first email addresses where you don't get delivered to the inbox, and then maybe as you work your way up to become reputable and have a good spam score, then you can start to send out to the providers where uh, previously you didn't get delivered.
So next one, what are the goals of an email campaigns and what are the metrics that you can measure? First one, already talked about open rate. Second one, bounce rate. Then click-through rate. Then reply rate. So let's go one by one. How can you measure open rate tracking? The technologies that the email applications put a 1 pixel image in your email and they measure if somebody downloads this email. And of course, your friends wouldn't put a 1 pixel image in your emails when they inquire about your weekend plans. So this is again a bad sign for spam filters that you are a professional email sender and you want to avoid it. But in the beginning, I would really recommend to use open rate tracking and track if you because this is, if you cannot measure, you cannot manage it, so you don't know if it's the problem. But after you set up, you tested the campaign and you reached a good reply rate like 8% or 10%, then you can abandon open rate tracking because it's enough to track the replies at the
Basically, what you
beginning.
say is that you get a subset of your list, maybe like 10, 20, 30, 50 emails. You send the email out using all the tracking available to at least know where things go south. So maybe people don't even like open it, or they open it but they don't reply, because there's a huge difference between the two. Because if they don't open it, maybe you have to work on your subject line. If they open it and don't click, then you have to work on the text itself. So to to debug the email itself, use a small subset, and once you think that it's tested and it works out, you get replies and positive replies and so on, then you remove all the tracking and just mass send the email, right?
Yes, generally correct, but two small nitty-gritty part here. So when you say all the things that you can measure, it's open rate and click-through rate, and I wouldn't bother with click-through rate with cold
Okay.
emails in the beginning. Also, you can test it in the follow-up sequence. For example, the third or fourth email has some links, and you check if people click on them. And with open rate, I think in at least the first 1,000 or 2,000 emails, you should track the open rate, and when it stabilizes, you can abandon it. But also, if you start with a new list with differently filtered people, again start with an open rate, because uh, the the quality of prospects can have a huge effect on open rate as well.
Makes sense.
How just okay, it's a very technical detail, but how want to track open rate? Usually, the email marketing softwares and also cold email softwares use their domain or a common domain for these 1 pixel images. But you want to set up your own domain for this as well. So, for example, a subdomain of your website. So I don't know, tracking.domain.com or something like that, because you can again avoid that other spammers would blacklist or get closer you to blacklist.
So other
Yeah,
vendors contaminate.
you want to avoid contamination. So you want to use your own domain address for this open rate tracking.
And you should do it like right away, or like for me, it's easier to just like maybe use MailChimp, use their basic tracking, test on a small subset, and once it's done, switch to the cold outreach software and use a plain text without any tracking. And so that's what you mean.
There is no positive, there is no benefit, potential benefit to use email providers, cold email providers, email marketing providers domain for open rate tracking.
Are you loving this episode? Don't forget to subscribe and rate us. It really makes a difference for all the insider info, including show notes and transcript. Check out disruptordigest.com. Are you a part of a software as a service or cutting edge technology company that generates over $1 million in revenue? If yes, they're offering a limited opportunity to a select few firms to accelerate growth. Visit artisan.marketing to learn more. Now, let's get back to the show. Oh, okay. So you should set it up as soon as possible, test it on the first few email addresses, and once everything is done and working well, then you just like switch it off altogether and just plain text.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. And there is one last measurement that I haven't mentioned. It's called the unsubscribe rate. And there is another topic. So do you want people to unsubscribe? The short answer is yes. It's good for you because first they will clean your list. And if somebody is not interested, it's better not to send any follow-up emails to them. And also you can track who are the people who are unsubscribed. You can understand what are their company sites, what are their industry, what are the other things that are common in these unsubscribed people. And in the next round, you won't send people like these.
Oh, that makes sense, because then if you find some common ground in email addresses which are unsubscribing, then you just they just avoid them in the next round of email collecting. That's extremely smart.
And so the minimum is to have a clear unsubscribe link in the bottom of your email. When we started to send out tens of thousands of emails to our visitors in our previous company, I put an unsubscribe link at the top of the email as well, because I really want people to unsubscribe if they are not interested. And the worst thing that can happen is that people click on spam, put on trash on Gmail and other applications. So you really want to avoid that, and you really want to make it easy for people for unsubscribe from your email. And the last thing about
it's almost like it just reminds me of spammers doing kind of like fake door unsubscribe links in their outburst emails. So they send out a lot of spams, and there's a very prominent unsubscribe button or link at the top of the email. It's easy to find and click on it, and it does nothing, absolutely nothing, because they don't send follow-up. It's just for the sake of it's kind of like appears as people are opening up a link, right? So it's quite fun and an interesting implication, which you can basically steal from spammers and use it for good purposes as well.
But I would say if it's an unsubscribe link, that it should be unsubscribed forever.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, of course. But it's kind of like an inspiration, almost like coming from spammers. And also another thing is, you mentioned before that the open rate is tracked through a pixel, which is invisible, so an invisible image. And sometimes email providers are preloading these images. So you cannot like distinguish between someone who really opened up the image itself, or it's just like a fake or false positive. And there's a trick for it. I read that you should put in the email in the image URL that unsubscribe, because if the URL itself contains the word unsubscribe, then these softwares won't open it up, because they obviously afraid that they without wanting it but unsubscribing someone, so they don't open and don't preload images and URLs with unsubscribing it. So that's kind of like a neat trick which I just like came to my mind regarding open rate tracking.
Okay, regarding the open rate, there is something you tapped into, which is accuracy and precision. So what are these? Accuracy is a thing that it's actually the reality. So for example, if you see 70% is your open rate, that you can make sure that out of 100 people, 70 people open your email. So, which is not true, because some email softwares open their email and download these images. And also some tech-savvy people set up their emails to don't download remote images on their emails. So you won't measure all the opens as well. And precision is something that maybe not the reality, but very precisely you can track the progress.
Mm.
So you don't have to think about how many people are not downloading their image and how many people not opening the email while their software downloading the image, because the trend is the important thing. So
So it's like
is
it's
it
not you shouldn't treat it as a snapshot of like, okay, this is the ultimate truth of like 70 people are opening my email out of 100. It's much more about like, okay, is it progressing or improving as I'm sending follow-ups? So does it make
Yes.
sense? Or it's just like I'm shouting in a void and nothing happens?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So if it goes from 70% to 40, you have a problem. It goes to 40 to 70, you are doing something right. But there is no other things. But still, with all these two things that we mentioned are balancing them out. So still aiming for 70 to 80% open rate, which is tracked open rate, is a good rule of thumb.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think we have done with the technical stuff, and we can go to the actual campaign, follow-ups, and the copywriting.
That
Okay?
sounds neat. And to be honest, this is not even a podcast we are doing. This is a masterclass with lots of nitty-gritty details I wasn't aware before, even though I've worked with you and working with you closely for more than 10 years. So I'm extremely appreciate all the things you're sharing and all the little secrets you cannot find easily on the internet.
So let's go to emails. And as Charlie Munger would say, how can we avoid to be very stupid? So you shouldn't think about how can be very clever and how to use the best words ever in your subject line, but you should just focus on avoid to be a very bad email sender. So what are the common traits of bad emails? First, they are not relevant. They start with greetings like dear friend or hello or just greetings.
Dear
And
sir or madam.
the yes, uh dear esteemed madam or sir, and something like that. So you will know this email was delivered to another 100,000 people, and it's an instant turn off. Second one, why is it not relevant? Because it's not talk about you, not talk about your pains, your benefits, but only talk about the company who sent the email. Next one, it's how can why common traits of bad emails. It's not a plain text, but super flashy things that we already mentioned. Subject line. How can you write a bad subject line? Use all caps. Use sentence case. Just think about again. Your friends wouldn't use all caps in your subject line, apart from a few very angry examples, but usually not. Or if you would use a word like urgent or very urgent in your email, it's mostly spammers do. Also, a bad email bad emails are very really long, too much feature, but not no tangible and verifiable data. Who is the sender? You don't recognize the sender, and even it feels sketchy. I just checked my spam folder, and the first email was from, and I quoted, Mr. Cabora Ocean. So I think no same people would use Mr. in their email address, and not at least not in the Anglo-Saxon and European culture. Uh, Next one, send from a free email account, big turn off, Gmail, Hotmail, or other free email providers. It's still also a bad sign for spam filters, but also there is no respectable company who would send the email from a Gmail address. There is another trait for bad emails, reply to a different email address, for example, a no reply at company.com. No, you want to start a conversation with cold emails, and your friends want you to start a conversation, so there is no other reply to address, and of course, no replies. The biggest turnoff if any desperation is coming through the email. I know that maybe it's your third or fourth time you try to send a cold email, and your boss has given you harsh deadlines and harsh goals, but desperation should never come through your emails. It should be always happy, fun, light. Another big turn off. Recently, I received a very good email, a cold email. I think this is about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. This is one of the one or two emails every year I receive. And the biggest turn off was for me that there was no verifiable person, no company. I checked the sender's name in Google, no results, just some other people who is a young sportsman, no LinkedIn profile. And I start a conversation with cold email senders to understand their business model and understand their thinking. And I ask, okay, I'm really interested. Their wording was good. It was targeting. So it was a good email. But I asked, okay, can you send me your LinkedIn or Facebook at least or something? And he said, I'm not on social media. And it was an instant turn off. So think about, usually you spend emails people who never met in real life, and they get a lot of emails people who they never met in real life. So you want to show as much trust signal as you can. And the last thing here is the sender's incentive is not clear for me. What do I mean? So for example, if somebody say that, can I send you a free report? I get instantly suspicious. Why do you want to send me something for free? Why is it good for you? Do you want to scam me, and then do you want to charge it after I received it? Or what is the business model? So you should be pretty clear. If you, for example, you organizing team building events, then can I send you more about our team building offers or emails? So they will instantly know that they will go there, cook something, and they will pay for them. But also, if you are an agency, then you should be upfront that we would send you this report, and later we could help you in these and these parts of business building.
Yeah, it's extremely important because it reminds me of a CRM client where we tripled the conversion rate. And what they did, as a lead generation, they basically did free workshops to business owners to help them to progress and improve their processes, right? And just by giving an answer to why is it free on the website, and it was basically just saying, okay, we are doing it for free to give back. So it wasn't something super deep. It was a very cheap, easy answer, but that was kind of like the truth to it. That okay, they want to give back, and it's totally free. You have no obligation afterwards to purchase anything. But obviously, if you think what we do and teach is helpful, and you think that our tool is useful for you, it's up to you to buy it. It's no pressure. So just by answering it, it had a huge and insanely big uplift in the conversion rate.
Right. Okay, so we are in the part of we are approaching copywriting, but before that, I would like to tell you the ratios. Where should you put your energy? So in the beginning, I would say it's 40% on creating a list, a high quality segmented email list. The next 30%, which we are approaching now, understanding the pains of your target audience and understanding their goals, their jobs, their objections. The next 10% is the technical stuff, technically set up everything, which we already mentioned. And only the last 20% is the actual copywriting. So let's go to the second most important part, understanding pains, goals of your target audience. So before you craft anything, before you start writing, you should understand the pains of your target audience. The good news is that I think ChatGPT is extremely good in this. So for example, again, cooking school example, you can ask ChatGPT what could be the benefits of a team building event, of a cooking class team building event. And also you can ask what are the common pains of companies who are organizing a team building event. So for example, it may ask that there is not enough bonding between people because of remote work or something like that. So you will know some pains and benefits. Next one are objection. Okay.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about writing text and copy and emails with ChatGPT, and why people get very blunt, very plain answers, which are not even personalized and not too exciting. And to be frank, they don't work very well because they're just like word pasta basically. And I realized while I was answering, I realized there are 10 levels how you can use ChatGPT to write anything like cold emails or emails. And even those people who think they're advanced, they're on the level 3 and not even on the level 10. And the first issue is how everyone does it. It's just like write a generic command to write an email to me, right? So, and it becomes really generic with how can you personalize something if even the prompt is very generic. And that's level 1. Level 2 is you provide some information about you, like, okay, it's all about me, so write an email about me, and you provide a big prompt. This is level 2. And level 3 is quite advanced because you say, okay, what is your goal? So you say like, okay, I want to get new clients. I want to get new clients who need like some hardware and software integrated software and not mobile applications. So that's level 3. And level 4 is a big jump. So I realized that in GPT technology, it matters the wording you use. So if you're not familiar with the field you are you want to use it for, like for emails and cold outreach, there's a big difference between write an email versus write a cold outreach email. It's almost like write a TLDR, write a summary, write an executive summary, explain it like I'm 5, so LE5. These are different things. And so if you not just use like, okay, write an email, but write a cold outreach email, so you use the terminology right, it's level 4. And level 5 is like write a cold outreach email, and there is like a target audience, and then you start to talk about yourself, right? Okay, so the level 5 is when you say like, okay, what you want to do with a specific wording, terminology, cold outreach, and what is your goal, and okay, what is the information about you. And level 5 is when actually you start to speak about the recipient of your email. So write a cold outreach email, and this is the recipient, right? So this is a company. And you can go to level 7 if you include information about the participant itself. So it's not just about a cold outreach email, also who is the target, and also what information you should know about them, right? So this is level 7.
Can you tell me an example? Can you tell us an example for this?
Sure. So instead of just telling that, okay, write a cold outreach email to a tobacco company or to an electric company or to a plumbing company or to a wellness company, I can write, okay, this is like the exact location and this is the name of the wellness company, a spa. I'm writing an email, outreach email as a developer company. I can include like, okay, these are the target audiences of that specific spa company, and please include it in with the goal in mind that I want to get some inbound business. And then at level 8, so level 8 is basically this. It's not just cold outreach email, but also what is my goal? Like I want to get clients, and also who is the target audience specifically. And level 9 is what you mean, what you just described before, that you start to talk about pain. So it's not just cold outreach, it's not that the spa company, not just the different services the spa company is selling, but also what are the possible pains they experience to get more business, to decrease their cost base or something. So you actually start to include information about their possible pains. Now you can use ChatGPT or GPT-like technologies to brainstorm, as you mentioned before, like, okay, this is the company, what pain do they experience? And level 10 is when everything is included. So it's included the specific terminology, like please write a cold outreach email. And then who is the recipient? So this is a spa company residing in Minnesota, I don't know which city. And then the pain is what they experience during running the everyday business. And then you also include information about you, because it's also about you, like what you are good at and what you're not good at. So obviously you don't want to get mobile application development opportunities if you're not good at it. If you are good at it, obviously you want to have that and not like website development. This is how you can ascend from level 1 to level 10 to use some terminology, use the specific knowledge, and this is really useful, I guess.
That level 11. You can always push it to 11.
Yeah.
So I think level 11 that we already talked about in your previous episode, then the actual copywriting structure. So for example, using frameworks in the copywriting like Cialdini's principles, the principles from breakthrough advertising, and also make it simple, optimize for clarity. And also there are more details which we'll not get into, but if you're interested, let us know and we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Yeah, so just write some nice comments and we're gonna make and shoot a future episode.
Okay, so back to the structure. So I talked about think about pains and goals. What you already mentioned is level 7, 8, like something like that. And also this is the ChatGPT way, but there is also the old school way, which I think still useful because ChatGPT doesn't know anything. So you should ask your current customers, and also if you can find anybody in your target audience, talk with them and ask about their pains, gains, jobs. Again, this is the framework, the pain gauge of framework that we may talk about later in more details. But in general, what are their goals and what are the pains? The next thing is objections. And it's a little bit different because you will get objections after you present an offer. And usually, if you are running a business, you already got some objections, and it's very good to front run these objections. So before even the clients or the readers of these emails think about the objections, handle these objections. And for example, oh, this service you were talking about must be too expensive for me, so I don't even request more information. Then you can front run it and say it's below the price range of, I don't know, $1,000 or something like that. Maybe other things.
So in normal sales setting, a good question to elicit some specific objection against the sale would be, what prevents you now from buying? Or if money wouldn't be the issue, could we sign the deal today and now, right? Because if you put the money side away, then you get the real objections.
Okay, so we know we made some research, even if it's just GPT. It's sometimes it's enough to start, and you can fine tune it later. And before you go into actual copywriting, you think about the follow up sequence. Why? Because with these benefits and pains, you will generate a list. If in an ideal setting, you should ask the customers and potential customers what are their most important jobs, what are the most important benefits that they think about your offer, and start with them. But also, I think you can prioritize them. And it's very important to don't put every benefit in one email. Don't try to answer every pain in one email. But this is what follow up is great. You start with the most relevant or the most important or what you think is the most important. Just put it in the first email. You get the second one, put it in the second email. And with follow-ups, it's important not just to send, did you read my previous email? Did you read my previous email? But always try to add more value. So change the subject of the actual email, not the subject line, but the actual subject. Approach from a different angle. Say something else about your offer. Say something else about your customers and how can you make their life better.
Yeah, can you give an example for how to provide value in a follow-up email?
Okay, so let's go to cooking classes. First, I would start with a very plain email, just to make it short and set up who we are. So, for example, this is an actual email. I will start with a plain email. Have you been to team building events with your company? And after that, I would put very short trust things that we have been providing team building events for 8 years, and we have more than 100 5-star rating on TripAdvisor.
And
Can I send
you put it at the end of the email, or you put it at the PS, at the very back
So
of the
first,
email?
this is this is the body copy. This is just a
Okay.
plain body copy to start. So one thing about asking, have you been to team building events? And just some trusting that we are an established player in the field. And after sign email, and after you can go the PS field, which is a very great part of copywriting because a lot of people just scroll down to a PS and don't read long body copies. So you can summarize in the PS, or you can repeat the call to action. For example, your call to action in the body copy is, can I send you more information about our team building event? Just reply yes. And yes is capitalized, so make it distinct from the uh, copy. Just reply yes, and I will send you more information. And
Basically,
again,
you
you
try to make it as easy as possible for them to answer, because if you don't say that it's okay to write just a yes, then they're in the mindset of, okay, I have to like write an answer and I have to think through what I'm writing exactly. I have to be polite, and then there's a lot of hustle, and they just skip it altogether. And if you give permission to just reply yes, they don't feel bad about that, right?
yes, very correct. So in this case, PS would be to repeat. Just if you're interested in team building, just reply yes, I send you
Oh,
more, or something like that. So okay, so this is one of a structure, and okay, where can you put the benefits? So for example, you can put a benefit in these lines. Uh, would you like to have more bonding between your employees? And in the second email, are you
oh.
tired of are you tired of boring team building events like having a dinner, which can be great or which can be very boring depending on the setting? And on the third email, you can put another feature of your product. For example, when we send out emails in the autumn, which is very rainy in Hungary, I will send that team building is the perfect program for rainy weather. There is no risk like in outdoor team building events or so. So in three emails, you send them two different benefits and one feature of your product.
So you kind of like describe how you can make their life easier in the follow-up
Yes.
emails.
Let's go to the actual copywriting one by one. Start with from the top to the bottom. When you see an email, what is the first thing that you see? The sender. Who sent this email? And usually if you send cold emails, people won't recognize your name. So first, it's good to have a familiar name. If you are sending emails to an English speaking country, it would be wise to be a sender an English name. So don't use, I don't know, Russian characters, Syriac characters, don't use Chinese characters, and so pretty basic. But also don't use African names, Slavic names, or other ones. So if you have an employee in your company with an English name, that's a good. Also, you can experiment with sending emails from a female, from a male sender. There are some differences. And also, you there are some different levels in company. For example, in sales intern or VP or sales or CEO. And usually the higher rank you can send in an email, the better. Although there are some edge cases where you want to talk with a matching person, but the higher rank you can send, the better. So this is the
Wouldn't it be
sender.
higher if like the CEO is sending an email to me that I'm thinking like, okay, cannot be that serious or that big?
Yeah, I think it depends on the company side. If you are a 10-person startup and the CEO is sending out email, it's something that, okay, I have the
Yeah.
attention of the CEO. I think it's good. If you are a 1,000 people company, then no, CEO shouldn't send cold emails. It's not believable that he or she would manage the cold email campaigns. The next one is people sometimes use that, for example, they put Mihai from Disruptors Digest in the email address, or in the email, in the name, the display name. And this is again something, it's not black or white. You should experiment with your target market. Just an idea. The second line after your name is a subject line. And I think it's a huge topic. I already mentioned, don't use all caps, don't use sentence case. They are not like from a friend send it. Usually it should be very short. like 2 words, 3 words, even 1 word, because the longer it is, the more likely that some marketing company is sending it or writing it, and they want to put everything. So make it short and make it look like a friend send it to you.
So sometimes what I use even to send like emails to friends, and it's not the cold outreach, but just one of the subjects I'm even using in personal setting as well is like quick question, right? It's like actually 2-word subject line, and it's actually just a quick question. So it kind of like foreshadows that it's not something which needs deep attention. So you can have a quick win just by seeing it and quickly answering it.
This is the last part of our podcast. We will go a high-level overview on the copywriting. After that, I will give you a checklist, and this is all for today. So, if you are more interested in copywriting in details, please comment below or send us an email or go to Artisan and Marketing and contact us, and we will make a future episode about the copywriting. So, I would like to go just on a high level on all parts of an email. First one is the sender. Usually, people won't be familiar with your name if you are sending cold emails. What you can do if you are sending emails to English-speaking people, then have an English name. The second one you can experiment is with having a male sender or a female sender. The third one is usually the higher up the ranks you are sending the email from. So, for example, an email sender shouldn't be a sales intern, but a VP of sales. Or if your company is small, than a CEO, it's the better, and you can expect higher reply rates. The second one is subject line. And subject line is where personalization comes in. So, first thing, you can experiment with having a first name or the whole name of your recipient in your subject line, and also having a company name in your subject line. So, for example, hi Victor, are you interested in team building or something like that? But
Or maybe
usually,
my company in the subject line as well. So hi, Victor. Artisan Marketing is interested in team
yes,
building exercise.
more personalization, the better. Also, you should aim for a short subject line, 2 words even, maybe just 1 word. You mentioned earlier me the so-called quick question, which is a little bit burnt out as far as I know. But anything that check what kind of emails your friends send to you. Plans for this week. Usually, I send it's an actual subject line, which is I tested and successful. Is Italian cooking class and the question mark. This is the team building actual subject line. Next one is the preview text, which is about 2 lines of text that most email softwares and applications like Gmail and mail applications show you. And again, this is the first view, this is the first thing that people see. So I would emphasize personalization again. Put the first name again. If you have the first name, put the company name, put the industry, put any information in the personalization that you have, and try to squeeze in some benefit, something that will make people curious. So in the subject line and in the preview text, you don't want to send your offer, you want just to send open. So people want to open your email. And next comes the body copy. General advice, no more than 5 sentences. So it should be very short. Nobody reads long text. So aim for 5 sentences and exactly 1 question mark in the body copy. You want to ask people one thing. Yeah, there is one single call to action. For example, can I send more information? Uh, if yes, then just reply yes, as we already talked about. And also personalization. How much personalization can you put in an email? I can say you should put at least 3: first name, company name, industry maybe, or but you can go up to 15. Uh, so as the company size, number of employees, for example, and also there are some other kind of personalization. For example, sending out case studies. And if you are marketing agency and I'm offering you team building events, I would say that your competitor, another marketing agency from the town, has a very successful team building event at us. And after they survey their employees, and they become 10% happier in their workplace. So first, there's familiarity because they know the other company as well. They will think it's relevant because their competitors using your service. And third, there is some measurable benefits, which is actually pretty hard for team building, but for other fields, it's very easy to put some measurable performance data. Okay, and what are the frameworks for copywriting? What I already mentioned: pain gain job. So focus on this pain gain job is just focus on the client. And the second one is Cialdini's principle. You can use it in copywriting, and ChatGPT is very good in Cialdini's principle. Just a few examples for this I will mention very briefly. So what are the Cialdini's principle? First one, and I think one of the strongest one, is scarcity. So, for example, you can send an email that I will be only in 2 days in your town. Can we meet up? Or, for example, if you are sending emails and you are a conference organizer, you can say that we have only 10 spots left for speakers on our event. Are you interested in becoming a speaker? So this is scarcity. Second one is liking. For example, what liking is something that which is similar to you. In this case, what I already mentioned, that your competitors have already been using our product. Are you interesting? But any kind of similarities: same town, same industry, same school. If you are approaching persons in company, just putting them in a ask group. The third one is research.
Really good to niche down in liking, so you can create different landing pages, different campaigns based on, like, someone is a entrepreneur, someone is a solo entrepreneur, someone is a small or medium-sized business owner, someone is a career manager at a big company. So you can reach out to them and talk to them on their level. As you said, with the agency owners, this is for marketing agency owners. This is what they experience. And since it's closer to you, they are more like you tend to have more interest in whatever they experience.
Right. Okay, so the next one is reciprocity. What you can do is position something as a gift. So, for example, we created a report which is about your industry, and it's relevant only for a few companies like you. Can I send it to you? So it's for reciprocity. Next one is
it's extremely important it has to be genuinely honest and free. So it cannot be like, if you purchase above, I don't know, $100, I send it for free, so the shipping is free. It's not reciprocity. Reciprocity is if you get something for free without string attached. So you get this report. It's not like you have to fill out a survey or whatnot. It's just like a question. I don't want to spam you. So I just ask, can I send it? And it's yes. Then I send it to you. And even I can state that there is no string attached to it. I just want to share it with all the parties who are relevant to who it is relevant to.
The next one is consistency. We already touched this one, that first you want to ask a very small thing, like to type only yes in a reply email. And after they type yes and you send something to them, then you can ask for a bigger things, like can you meet? Can you schedule a phone call? Or just the next step, which is a little bit bigger. And this is a consistency. And the last two things.
Sorry. So on consistency, it's extremely interesting. So let me diverge for 2 minutes here, because in the Cialdini's influence book, there is a research about this, that they ask people whether they are willing to put up a big ass sign in their backyard about safe driving, and just a few percentage said yes. And then what they did, they asked, okay, are you willing to put a bumper sticker on your car, back on your car, about safe driving? And a majority of the people complied, because it's easy to say yes to. So this is why foot in the door technique, because it's extremely easy to say yes to. But what's extremely interesting is, in the follow-up, they asked again, okay, since you're driving with this bumper sticker, are you willing to put up this bigger sign in your backyard? And 2/3 of the people complied with the request. So the compliance rate just jumped by a huge margin. And this is something which you can use even with AI, and that's mind-blowing, actually. Because sometimes if you use ChatGPT, it's not complying. It says, okay, as a large language model, I cannot write code or I cannot write emails or I don't know. So it's not complying with your request. And what you can do with ChatGPT is ask a leading question. So you say, okay, I need some help to compose an email. Are you willing to help me? Please just answer yes. And since it's answering yes in the history of the chat, so once you are starting to write your actual request, the history already contains a yes, so it's more than willing to comply with your request. So this is quite funny how even these large language models can be influenced by leading questions and this foot in the door technique. So this is, sorry for the diversion, but this is something it's
Yeah,
worth mentioning.
if we talk about behavioral experiments, just one very short mention here, which is related to consistency. I think it was at Princeton or some other prestigious university. They asked students to give blood. They asked them. They describe why is it beneficial for other people and so. And they have about 5% show rate in the next 1 hour when this blood giving was available. And in the next group, they showed people on the map how can they get to the blood giving center in their university campus, so they know the exact steps. And from 5% it went to 15% or something like that, like two-fold, threefold. So when you say foot in the door, this is another aspect. Tell them what exactly want them to do, because maybe they want to do, but they are confused with the next step. So if you say that just reply yes in an email and we will go to the next step. And when you want to book a meeting, just click on this calendar link and book a meeting for the next week. You will see at least 5 open slots or something like that. So this is what I say, clear call to action.
Yes, and I guess Alex Hormozy did this with Gym Launch. It's not just about getting a gym membership, but also making it extremely easy all the way through losing weight, getting in shape. That, okay, you don't have to think about like diet because they help you what to choose, what to buy, and so on and so on. So whatever is your client buying from you, you can always make it easier for them to put it in practice, and that can have a tremendous impact on whatever you're trying to achieve.
Okay, just to finish Cialdini's principle and the whole copywriting, we have 2 more principles which can be under the umbrella of trust signals. These are authority and social proof. Authority is about you received awards, you have media appearances, for example, a TechCrunch article if you are in the startup space, or
Right on the website, it's like as seen on and big
yes.
logos, and I guess there's even like a solution or like there's even a service where you can pay just a few tens of maybe 50 or $100 for it, and it's you can put on like as seen on, and there are big names which are technically you can be as seen on, but they are not the main channel. So it's not like NBC, it's not like the big television channels. It's just some side channels, and that's why you can put it on your website. So there's some hack around it as well, some shortcuts. Obviously, if you can proof it, so you can actually link to the TechCrunch article and not just say as seen on TechCrunch. That's obviously always good. So always have to prove whatever you say, because then if people start to look and dig into you, they realize you are real and they are not faking it. Because if you fake it, at the end of the day, you won't get too far.
Correct. Although just one aspect that you don't want to put a lot of links, and I would say
Yes.
you don't want to link any link besides the unsubscribe link in your email. So you have to be careful with linking, but you can mention in the PS field, you can mention it in your signature that, as mentioned in TechCrunch or something similar, or your awards. Okay, and the last thing is social proof. Social proof is like public reviews. For example, when we send team building cold emails, I always put more than 100 5-star reviews. I always put the exact actual number of TripAdvisor reviews and Google reviews, and I put it like 5.0 out of 5 on TripAdvisor, 139 reviews, something like that. So this is social proof.
Great.
Okay, these were the principles, and these were high-level copywriting. And to finish this podcast, I would give you a checklist before we end this podcast. I will go one by one, and of course, if you sign up to our newsletter, you will immediately receive this checklist. So first thing, check before you send. First, send the email to your own email address and click all the links if you have any, and check everything is working. Check it on mobile, check it on desktop screen. Next one, check if the sender is right. Check if the subject, the preview text are great and it's personalized. It's not just the placeholder text. And also check the copy. Next one, think about the call to action. Is it clear? Is it only one single call to action in the email? Is it easy to do? And does your email have one single question mark in your email? Next one, length. Check, is it 5 sentences? If it's longer, then put it in 2 emails, break up in 2 emails, and put it in someone else in the follow-up text. Next, check how many times do you mention I or we? Is it minimal? Do you talk more about your recipient? Next one, do you mention any value? Do you mention any benefit? Do you provide solution for any pain? So do you talk about this? Next one, unsubscribe. Do you have an unsubscribe button? Does it work? Please click on it, check this, and see in your system if you are really unsubscribed. Also, before you send out, just double check if emails are verified, so there is a low probability of bounce. And for the mindset and the framework we mentioned, the copywriting, is it short? Is it clear? Did you use Cialdini's principle or other principles that you are familiar with? And that is all.
All right, thank you very much. As I said previously, I feel like this is a actual masterclass in cold outreach email, because I went from having a vague understanding to actually having a clear steps what I have to look out for and how can I optimize them and exact tools I can use, and not just physical tools but also mental models as well. So this was extremely useful for me, and I hope that for the listeners as well. So for dear listeners, please go to disruptorsdigest.com, subscribe so you can get an access to our knowledge base, ever-growing knowledge base, and also please rate and subscribe to our podcast and write comments down below, or write us email. Go to artisan.marketing, reach out to us if you need anything, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much. Bye. In the next episode, we will debunk myths and challenges preconceived notions about AI. Does AI truly lack creativity and empathy? Is it possible for artificial intelligence to display emotional intelligence? Next episode promises a captivating discussion about why larger AI models aren't necessarily better, and how a unique Stanford project involving a smaller model could be the key to the future. We'll delve into why in the realm of AI, bigger isn't always better. You'll also learn why the notion that data is the new gold is a myth. If it's not data, then what is the new digital gold? The answer might surprise you. We'll also examine a fascinating phenomenon, the reversal of disruption. The common belief was that physical workers would be the first to be affected by AI, followed by office workers and then creatives. However, if you observe closely, it's actually happening in reverse, with creatives already feeling the pressure. Victor will also dissect the innovator's dilemma through the lens of one of the world's most influential tech companies, Google. In a world where technology is rapidly disrupting traditional businesses, can even giants like Google wrestle with such dilemmas? We're also going to investigate how AI has started infiltrating various sectors, from the creative arts to the traditional office workspace and even physical interactions. And if you're curious about whether AI can truly comprehend and replicate human emotions, Victor's perspective might surprise you. Did you enjoy this episode? Don't forget to subscribe and rate us, it really makes a difference. For all the insider info, including show notes and transcript, check out disruptordigest.com. Are you a part of a software as a service or a cutting-edge tech company with more than $1 million in revenue? We're offering a limited opportunity to a select few to accelerate growth. Visit artisan.marketing to learn more. See you next time.